So, do you see that terrible job that Wesley was putting in engineering earlier?
Yeah, he didn't even have that magnet calibrated properly.
Couldn't even defocus a manifold.
No, absolutely.
What's on his mind?
Yeah, something's messing up with him.
Yeah.
Geordie can't say anything, can he? Because he's distracted all the time.
Yeah.
So, but you need leadership in a situation like that.
All I'm saying is, if you're going to be a 15-year-old working in engineering, you got to be focused.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a highly unstable matter reactor that could wipe out all life on this ship in an instant.
And if we're going to let the kids touch it.
But I mean, you've got to understand, like, as I was told the other day by Riker, a Starfleet officer's first duty is to their cock.
Yeah.
So let them have at it, I suppose.
Or the Starfleet captain's second duty is to keep the son of the woman that you fancy on board.
Yeah.
Just, even if she takes a leave of absence, you got to keep him on side, because at the end of the day, she's always going to like him more than you.
I don't want to call it emotional blackmail.
No.
Because I know Picard checks the security logs.
Yeah.
But if he didn't do that, I would call it that.
Podcasts. A Frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast Captain Slug. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new episodes, to seek out new jokes and new references, to split infinitives that no one has split before.
Captain Slog, Stardate 35. These are the continued voyages of Eddie Edwards and Mark O'Neill, this time in the same room.
Wow.
Yeah, special occasion for the 20 or so people who listen to this, which includes Mark and both our girlfriends.
Yeah, I do listen to this. I listen to every episode.
Yeah, I listen to it while editing it at 1.5 speed, so I regularly forget what both of us sound like, because I don't listen to it. I put it up to 1.5 and it's like the Chipmunks.
I don't even really know. I just genuinely just really like the sound of my own voice. That's my beer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just like listening back to it and going, I am funny.
See, if I listen to it back, I'll be like, I'm not as funny as I think.
You've got to defeat that attitude, mate. You've got to shapeshift that attitude.
Yeah.
You've got to elastomorph.
Elazomorph,
yeah.
That attitude. So anyway, since we last recorded, we've both actually been up to quite a lot of stuff. So yeah, how was Corfu?
Yeah, it's fine. It's still there. It's mountainous.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never done Corfu.
Which is weird, because Corfu is largely associated, as far as I'm aware, with dolphins. Dolphins live in the opposite of mountains. The Mariana Trench.
I didn't say dolphins don't live in the Mariana Trench, but all I can say from a scientific perspective is, as far as we currently know, no dolphins have been discovered in the Mariana Trench. It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Because have you heard the theory that there's an extra secret trench?
Who's keeping it secret?
Right. So there's like a layer of like brine. So at the bottom of the ocean,
right,
you can get lakes.
Yes.
Of like really like salty deposits, and there's some of that at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Right.
But there's a theory that some people have, which is that we've not been able to penetrate that, which is that might lead to another larger, like bigger undersea thing. It's part of like the same theory as the Hollow Earth theory, which is one of my favourite batshit conspiracy theories. It's like when your conspiracy theory is the sort of conspiracy theory that the people making a Godzilla movie go, oh, that's a good idea. That's when you know it's off the fucking grid.
I have a lot of issues with the Mariana Trench, and I'm going to make them known.
It's about time someone did.
Put it right in its place, which is at the bottom of the sea, where it belongs. A lot of people give it. Why are we exploring space? Why are we spending so much money on space? We could be going down the bottom of the Mariana Trench and finding out what's there. What are we going to find?
It's just going to be fish.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
It's not like
we're not going to find the fish that is the cure for cancer.
What if there's a plug? Just take it out.
What if there's a button that turns on the bubbles?
No, I would love if after all of this time we've spent trying to explore the solar system, somebody does get to the very, very bottom of the Mariana Trench, just a door, and it opens up to level 2.
What if we get to Titan on Saturn, on one of the moons of Saturn, and there's just another Mariana Trench? That's going to make us look quite a fool. Because that I guess would be if God was a video game designer, which he isn't, because jumping is useless in real life.
Yeah, there's fall damage. If God was real, there wouldn't be that.
Nah, and my carrying capacity is laughable. What if they did that, and God was like, no, just the Mariana Trench is where not the level 2 door, but that's where the gold crown. What's a video game thing? I play a lot of video games. I can't think of something off the top of my head.
What if it was okay?
3 shells.
Have you ever played Frog Fractions?
No.
Right. Okay. So Frog Fractions is a fun little maths game where you're a frog on a pad and you've got to shoot out your tongue and grab numbers to make things add up.
Right.
Except
in an existential way.
Well, no, it's
things add up.
Well, that's the thing. First of all, you think
it's the Mariana Trench. What's at the bottom?
So you think it's maths. And then you realise very quickly that it doesn't matter at all what numbers you get, and it's only after a while that you discover that you can move the frog left and right. And once you can do that, you realise you can go off of the edge of the lily pad and go underneath, and there's just all the points you need to reach the level where you unlock the jetpack. Okay, and all I want to say is that's how Frog Faction starts. By the end of it, you are the president of Mars. The game is like a simulation in which you're doing resource management to sell porn, and then the guy who made it did an amazing thing, which is he said he did a Kickstarter for Frog Fractions 2, and then he as part of the Kickstarter was, I will not announce when Frog Fractions 2 is out. A game will be released, and if somebody directly asks me, is this game Frog Fractions 2, and it is correct, I will confirm that it is Frog Fractions 2. And after about 6-7 months, about 2 years, he suddenly goes, "Yeah, I released it a month ago, and nobody spotted it." And then somebody found a fairy village simulator called Glittermitten Grove, and there's if you dig down in the bottom left corner, as far down as you can go, there's a door, and you open the door, and then through the door is Frog Fractions. Now, if God was that sort of game designer, I quite like the idea that you open up the bottom of the Mariana Trench and you pop out and you've done Titan.
Have you heard of Vinny's Existential Nightmare?
No.
Right. So, do you know the YouTuber and comedian Stuart Ashens?
Oh, I know Ashens, yeah.
Yeah, so Ashens is a very famous YouTuber. He's a bit of a kind of absurdist comedian. He has the easiest job on YouTube. He literally buys things from the pound shop and reviews them, and he makes serious bank. Yeah. Now, he is very talented, and he's a very, very, very funny man. But he done a pilot for the BBC, which was, I think it was called something like Ashens Video Game History.
Right, okay.
And he was a video game historian talking about 3 video games from the 80s, from the 8-bit Commodore 64 era, that don't really exist. But he made mock-ups of them. And one of them is a game called Vinny's Existential Nightmare, where you're a cartoon mouse, right, in just a box that you can move around in a couple of squares. And it says, you put it up and it says, press start to begin. And as soon as you press start, it says, your actions have doomed Vinny. And you can't escape. There's nothing else on the screen. There's quite a lot of empty screen, but Vinny's stuck in the box. And there's no way to get out of the box. And after a while, Vinny starts to panic and move on his own. And then he just sort of keels over and dies.
That's amazing. I want to play Vinny's Existential Crisis. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking of existential nightmares.
Yeah. Fucking. So, yeah. What's this episode called again? The Dauphin.
Oh.
The Dauphin.
Yeah.
No. Right.
The Dauphin.
Yeah, right. It's not a good one.
No.
No. The entire plot of the episode is the Enterprise beams up 2 people. They look like they're from Shakespeare in the Park. They turn out to be shapeshifters. We get a fun little Ewok, and then they leave. And Worf is definitely horny for the old woman shapeshifter, who he considers a worthy adversary.
And about 5 minutes into it, Troy basically sets out what's happening, and no one listens to him.
Yeah. She does exactly. She's like, they're not. It's not their intentions, but they're not who they seem to be. And also, it's like, oh, they could be a shapeshifter, and they're all like, oh, that's mental. As if that's not the plot of like 6 separate episodes of the original series, and a key part of, is it Star Trek 4 or 6? When they get what's the undiscovered country? Is that 5? Yeah.
5.
Yeah, where there's the really hot woman who seduces Kirk, and then it turns out she's a shapeshifter.
I haven't seen that one. The only Star Trek original series movies I've ever seen are the like trilogy. So 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't even think I've seen 4 all the way through. I think I started watching it. I had it on DVD. I think I started watching it and then never finished it, and now I've just pieced it together from clips I've seen.
We watched Wrath of Khan, me and Emma, the other day, and she'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
She got to the end and she was like, Spock can't be dead. I was like, well, you'll find out more in the next movie. She goes, what's the next one? I go, Star Trek: The Search for Spock. Kind of a giveaway of the plot.
Yeah. The original working title was called Star Trek: Burying the Lead.
But so the entire plot of this episode is, like I say, Wesley falls in love with a shapeshifter and then breaks up with her because she's a shapeshifter. And I just want to say, like, I love Emma. I love her to bits. She's the most important thing in my life, and the only way she could be improved as a woman would be if she could take the form of any woman.
Same for Laura. The only way that Laura could be improved is if she could become a sort of Alf-like creature.
Yeah, those are the 2 forms that they could take. It's she goes, oh yeah, and she's got a whole. My true form is unimaginable to you. It's just glowy lights.
Yeah. I mean, we're skipping over quite a bit of plot here. But
are we?
She doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't think. What's her name?
Saleya and Anya.
Saleya. Saleya doesn't think that Wesley. You find out that she is a shapeshifter, and as she's about to beam off, she says, "Can you leave the room because I have to turn into my true form, which I don't think you're going to enjoy." But her true form is just a big floppy condom full of lube, and that's funny because that's Wesley's favourite thing on a Friday evening. Just as I looked at my notes there, this is a bit, it doesn't really go anywhere, but we found out a little bit of Star Trek medical admin.
Oh yeah.
This week, because Laura's always asked how come no one wears a mask when they're dealing with diseases or anything. Yeah. And apparently it's because all of the air on the Enterprise is filtered at all times. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, great. Yeah, because the Anya is the bodyguard of Saleya, who's like some. It's such a bullshit. She's like there's a planet where it doesn't. Like, it only orbits it spins once per orbit, so one side is day all the time and one side is night all the time. Which is
geosynchronicity. Geosynchronicity is the actual astrological term for that.
But it's
why the moon never changes.
Yeah, but that is a fascinating idea for a planet that you visit, like night and dark, and they're like fighting each other over resources. But no, we don't even see that.
Nah.
In fact, when they get to the planet, it's so exactly the same as the planet that they started off on that I'm pretty certain on the view screen is the same bit of footage.
Yeah.
She wants to, like, Anya's the bodyguard and she wants to protect her, and she literally is like, there's a sick person on board the ship. Saleya could get sick. Kill that patient now. And Pulaski's like, I'm not killing a white man. It's a white straight cis boy. I'm not touching him.
Nah, absolutely not.
The golden child.
I'll put a nice silver blanket on him just to make sure that he's alright.
But one thing I do love in this episode is that when the protector, the bodyguard, who's got some strong Merlin energy coming off of her, turns into a giant like monster and tries to attack Worf. Worf is like a bit taken aback by it, but the moment she turns back into a little old woman, Worf wants to punch her.
Yeah. There's also some I did a note here that something that really made me laugh. There is some absolutely spectacular, what's known as tennis ball acting.
Oh yes.
From what?
Yeah.
So if you are not into the kind of the minutiae of generally television, sometimes movies as well, production. If there is a character who is entirely CGI, generally what the production will do is literally have a tennis ball on the end of a stick, which is to give the actors something to look at, so that they will all be looking at the same place, so that then the animators can put the eye line of the CGI creature in. They didn't do that with Worf. Michael Dorn is just looking wherever he feels like.
Yeah, because it's a very brief bit of CGI before it's a tall person in a fucking furry costume.
Particularly at the end of the episode, the Anya turns into a big scary monster. Yeah. And they just reused some Chewbacca sounds.
Yeah.
But they just slightly altered the pitch.
Yeah. There's the list of forms for Saleya is mainly her human form, big furry monster, condom full of glowing lube. And then Anya goes little old lady, stunningly beautiful blonde, Ewok, something too small to be seen by the crew so she can escape from her quarters, giant furry monster, which is a limited range. Yeah. But then if you've lived on a planet where like they're the only people on that planet, they've been hiding. So I don't know to what degree like they've seen things. Yeah. Because I would personally think that the best thing to do with your time in a situation like that would have been like just have a book of animals.
Selena, she brings it up. She's like, so the reason that she was on some random planet is that she is the daughter
of both royal
families, and presumably she will bring everyone together. But they didn't want anyone to assassinate that kid, so they took her to live on an empty planet. Yeah. For 16, 17 years. Yeah. And she said the only thing I could do there was study. Yeah. So why isn't she turning into like a fun leopard or something?
Also, I love the fact that they do the whole bit at the beginning is like, what species are you? And Picard's like, human, rather than saying, well, the Federation represents a broad swathe of civilizations. There's many of us on board. It's just as human, again.
It's an android. Yeah. I mean, the Doctor doesn't enjoy that, but...
But he says human, and they're like, oh, good. Yeah. And then they beam up, and they're human, and it's like, you... And then on board, she's like, I was like, oh, maybe they don't know what the Federation is. But then they know loads of information about like how warp cores work and shit, and it's stuff like, it's like, well, you know what the Federation is. You could have beamed up as fucking anything, and it would have been, broadly speaking, fine. The only thing you shouldn't have turned up is that tar monster that killed Tasha. Yeah. Then they might have been like, oh, fuck. But other than that, they're pretty inclusive.
You could have been up as a
centaur.
Something for O'Brien to do in this episode.
O'Brien Watch.
Because he's in this episode.
Oh yeah, he's in this episode.
The back of his head.
Yeah, beams some people in, beams some people out. That's it.
Gets a full credit.
Yeah.
He gets royalties for this episode.
Yeah, he does. I don't think he has a line.
No.
It's just he stands there.
Yeah.
But he still gets, but he's still. Is he billed above Pulaski? Who goes? Pulaski's still getting her special appearance by thing, which
O'Brien isn't until the end credits.
Okay, right. Now, one thing I do like in this is that the girl comes on board, Wesley sees her, and is immediately like, "Oh, I'm in love at first sight," despite knowing nothing about the girl's personality. So Wesley just cares about looks, and Riker is immediately like, "Don't do it, Wes. She's a ruler. She's got too complicated." It's like Riker. Of all people who's saying Riker has slept with, I think, 4 separate leaders of planetary civilizations.
Yeah, but what he was really saying was, listen, Wes, I've fucked a 16-year-old before. And what do you talk to them about afterwards? Do you know what I mean? Who's your favourite Pokemon? It'll make you feel old. You don't want to do it.
Jesus Christ, how many Pokemon must there be by the time Star Trek rolls around? Because they're up to like 600 now.
They're at nearly 1,000. I think they're at 800 because people complain that in the new games you don't get every Pokemon.
Yeah, I know. Ekans wasn't in there.
Yeah.
Which I mainly know because James Stephanie Sterling flipped out about it because it's their favourite Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that. And but also the Nintendo Switch doesn't have the computing power to compute that many Pokemon.
Yeah, but the holodeck must do. But then there are Pokemon that are literal gods.
Yeah.
If you ever want to read some batshit lore, the Pokedex is full of like Growlithe's like Flame Burst is like they give like the like temperature that it can reach, and it's like 2 degrees lower than the temperature of the surface of the sun.
Yeah. Some of them are fucking dark.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. It's some of the ghost Pokemon are like literally like children who die by drowning specifically.
Yeah.
It's like become this Pokemon. What?
There's a Pokemon that appears because like the creation of Pokemon is really easy. All you have to do is look at a thing, pick a random thing.
Yeah.
Like you walk into a friend's living room, pick a random thing, make a cute version of that, right?
Yeah.
And then come up with the most fucked up stuff you can imagine. There's a Pokemon who looks like another Pokemon wearing a Pikachu costume.
Right, okay.
And I think the lore of that is if you ever see the Pokemon under the costume, you will immediately die.
I know that
Who's making those costumes? Is it just the skin of a dead Pikachu?
Yeah, it is. The first, just by fluke, the first Pokemon thing any of those ones I've ever seen is a Pikachu.
Yeah.
And it dies, and I'm like, oh, I don't want that stuff.
Shoot.
Better pull its skin on. I know Cubone wears the skull of its mother.
Yeah.
Which is like real fucking dark. And is constantly sad. It's like fucking the Batman of Pokemon.
And then Cubone evolves into Marowak.
Yeah.
Which is the skull that it's wearing.
Yeah.
So then do all Cubones give birth, do all Marowaks then give birth to another Cubone and then die?
Well, I know octopuses die. Like, they use all of their energy to fertilise their eggs, which is why, despite their incredible intelligence, octopuses have yet to build a functioning society that can rival man.
Also, they produce so much ink, and yet I've never read a book written by an octopus.
And they should be the output.
Yeah.
Like, they should be able to knock out, like, 8 books at once.
No, that's not fair, because you can't write 2 books at once at your two up. They should only be able to write 4 books.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Apart from the octopuses who are left-handed, because they smudge it. Did you know that octopuses have 6 arms and 2 legs?
One of those arms is also a penis.
Nice. But which one? We'll never know.
No, yeah. I imagine that if octopuses had evolved to a human-like level, their Me Too movement would have been horrendous. It's like, well, I thought he was shaking his hand.
I ate octopus for the first time in Corfu.
Oh, did you?
It was fried.
Any good?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was nice. You're a vegetarian. What are you going to do with that information?
I don't care what other people do.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not. It's fine.
No, it was quite nice. But you can taste the texture on the suckers though.
Yeah.
And that's.
I mean, I will say, I don't give a fuck what people eat. That completely unrelated to that. The scene in The Boys where Homelander makes the Deep eat the octopus is one of the most horrifying moments in the entire show. I know it doesn't seem as horrific as some other stuff, but when you think of what the Deep can hear the octopus begging for their life.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Is there any animal that, even as a vegetarian, if you had the option to hear it begging for its life, you would be more likely to eat it?
So, like, is there an animal that I personally think deserves to die?
I wish.
So the thing is about animals is I don't think you're right to eat them because I don't. I think here's the deal: eat people. They've probably done something to deserve it. Yeah. Animals are creatures of instinct. So if an animal did have the intelligence to like communicate with me and like could hold a conversation, then I would assume that just by having that level of intellect, at some point it had done something that was worthy of its death.
Fair Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I know octopus is just like twat fish for no reason. Like if a fish goes by, they just let them out of spite. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if
also-
you could find me like I don't know, a racist zebra. Like a zebra is like, well, that zebra over there is black with white stripes. Fuck
Yeah.
it. Then I'll eat that.
Black with white stripes lives matter. What animal do you think is the most likely to be racist?
See, now this is You see, I think it's going to be. I think the panda.
No.
No, yeah, I mean, there's got to be some reason why God's decided they should die.
Panda's legit my favourite animal.
Oh, they're worthless. They're
That's
not
what I like
worthless.
about them.
They're called they're what's the term? Charismatic megafauna, which is like that's what they're called. So it's like the idea is that like people want to protect the panda,
Yeah.
so you make loads of money from like selling like people like pandas, keep them alive, and then you preserve the bamboo forest in which like loads of like rare insects and shit that nobody gives a fuck about lives. And it's like, oh, we kept all this forest safe for the pandas. So yeah, like it's like blue whales are they're nice, but by keeping them safe, you have to protect like algae, and algae is really important for everything else in the sea.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a weird thing. Like I found out that term like a few years ago, charismatic megafauna.
Charismatic megafauna is the name of my first rap album.
If you're gonna release a rap album like that, you must do it under the rap name either the Rhinoceros or the Hip Hoppopotamus.
Did you know that whales? Now, this is a fact that I have put together from various different sources
Okay.
that I've glanced at on Reddit and Wikipedia.
Okay.
But whales are quite obviously whales used to be land animals.
Yeah.
Land whales,
Yes.
as they called them at the time, and they went back into the ocean, and then they became sea whales.
Yeah.
They were actually quite close. They were just giant rats, like whales. If I remember the fact that I basically made up properly,
Yeah.
the closest thing that you will find out there to a whale is a rat.
Right. Okay.
They're more closely related to rats than dolphins.
Okay. I can buy that. That sounds
Yeah.
that sounds plausible. Yeah.
Because if you take a rat, right? Do now. Pause the podcast. Go get a rat.
Yeah.
Put it in the ocean.
Wait a billion years.
Yeah, wait a billion years. See how big it gets.
Do you know about evil whales? So right, okay.
What colour are they?
No. Right, so the people of Iceland, like they've got like the weird mythology where like they all believe in like fairies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Elves.
yeah, elves, not fairies.
Because we have a huge Icelandic listenership, and I'm not gonna disparage them.
No, yeah, so they like elves. Right. But they also have in their mythology that there are like 6 other species of evil whale that like you can't say their name because if you say it out loud they'll come for your boat. And like they've got like saw faces that they'll cut your boat in half with and shit like that. It's they know like 6 or 7. It's all part of like Icelandic folklore.
Yeah.
I know this because I read about it while I was in the penis museum. Because they were talking about how they only have the penises of the good whales.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, yeah, nobody's ever captured the evil whales because only the people of Iceland know their names and they're not saying it out loud, so they don't get summoned.
Yeah.
So they're all, I imagine, down the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Do you ever you know the way that sea animals, water animals,
Wanimals.
You know the way that like swordfish and sawfish,
Yeah.
and the evil saw-faced whale.
Yeah.
You know the way they always evolve weapons on their faces.
Yeah.
Do you think they look at us like we're the idiots?
Well, here's my thing, right? How does a swordfish launch a surprise attack? Right? Okay. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I think we'll all agree one of the greatest tactical moves in history is that time John McClane taped a gun to his back.
Yeah.
Right? Which a swordfish can't do. A swordfish can't turn up without its nose on.
No,
and have the
that's
other swordfish be like, well, like if they're having like a gangster meeting
Yeah.
and like having a meet up between the swordfish and the sawfish gang, Like the swordfish comes in and the swordfish has not got its nose on, and the swordfish has. And the swordfish is like, I thought we said no weapons.
See, the reason that a swordfish can't do that though is more that a swordfish doesn't have a back. It's just two sides. So it would need to take the gun to one side of itself, and then just rock up sideways, like, hey, Jeff. So saw you down a pub the other day. You talking to that talk to that hussy, Delilah. You know you're my sister's husband, right? Bang.
Now I just want to watch a swordfish gangster movie. And I'm going to say this right. If anybody listening to this is upset that we're not discussing the episode enough, this episode is so boring that I've literally got in my notes who decided what bowls everything gets served in the replicator. Like that was like the deep. That's how bored I was in this episode.
That's a good question.
Because it's like they serve like chocolate mousse, and it's like in a big glass bowl with like a curly thing on it, and I was like,
oh, here's another thing that I wrote down. So Wesley takes Celia to 10 forward.
Yeah.
To broaden her horizons, because he says I'm going to get you some chocolate, and then Guinan brings over 2 mixing bowls of chocolate and says, you won't find a better bowl of chocolate anywhere.
Yeah.
What? What is a bowl of chocolate? Is it mousse?
Is that the biggest cultural shift? That at some point in the future we move away from the bar. Clearly the best way of serving chocolate. It's probably because of the atomic horror.
Yeah.
You can't get it to sat.
Yeah. Well, that is a real thing. So, so in construction, which again I know lots about, if you buy steel from pre-1945,
oh yeah,
it's much more expensive because all steel after the Nagasaki and the Hiroshima bombs is technically radioactive.
So if you find a shipwreck of like an old ship from like World War One, it's metal. That's really like valuable historically, but it's more valuable to like cut it up into bits and flog the metal on for like medical devices. I think there was some used in the thing they zapped me with, because they need like to do like calibration. You need something that's not, and that's mental. It's like it's like.
And also the knife had a skeleton in a captain's hat attached to it.
Oh, it's like have you ever seen the thing about like the guy who accidentally discovered the guy who was trying to discover how old the planet is?
Yeah.
Was trying to do it, and he was like, "Oh right, okay. What we need to do is we'll measure how much uranium decays into lead, and we know how much and we can tell how old this bit of uranium is, and if we can get some lead and work out how much lead is in the environment, we can work out how much the uranium has decayed.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, and trying to get an environment where there was no lead contamination, he discovered that there was shitloads of lead in the atmosphere, and that's why we have unleaded petrol now, because he was like, this is incredibly dangerous. And I think it's in Freakonomics, there's like a genuine point where you can match to the like taking lead out of the atmosphere to like a decline in violent crime.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it really badly fucks your brain. Don't drink lead.
You can they actually released a study a few weeks ago, and look, America is fucking like, we don't even have to make jokes about it. America's making jokes about itself, right?
Yeah.
But they released a study that said the average American IQ has gone down since the 1980s, when they stopped having as much regulation around lead and stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying that the Republican Party deliberately allowed more lead in the environment so that people would be easier to manipulate. What I'm saying is, if that came out, I wouldn't be surprised.
Nah.
Maybe that's what's in the MAGA caps. Maybe they've got like a lead line.
Yeah.
You sell it to them, it's like, it stops brain control. Because I found out recently, if you got a tinfoil hat, that would actually amplify the mind control rays that they think happen. Like, it would make you more susceptible to them. Yeah. If they existed, which they don't.
What is your favourite plausible conspiracy theory?
What is your
favourite plausible conspiracy theory about something so fucking mundane that if it turned out to be true, no one would even be that bothered.
I mean, let's just start with the obvious one. I don't go in much for conspiracy theories, but we have to address this. Epstein didn't kill himself. That's painfully obvious. The ones that I would, let me see, all of mine are just real boring, like corporate shit.
Yeah, my favourite one is that the only reason you're not allowed to bring liquid on airplanes is because shops after security in airports weren't making enough money. So
9/11
W.H. Smith was conspired with the Unabomber.
I do have a genuine belief that American like mass shooting events are orchestrated. Are orchestrated by the gun industry, so that they can tell everyone that the Democrats are going to take their guns away.
Yeah,
and then they all rush out and buy guns. And it's something I'm going to say: if you are an American and you're listening to this and you're left leaning and a Democrat, go buy guns, because it is going to kick off soon.
Yeah.
And you're up against a bunch of idiots who are going to do a lot of damage to themselves, but you should still be picking off the stragglers.
I'm trained.
Yeah.
Like, they're not as easy as they look in video games.
Yeah.
I am spectacularly good at it. I've gone shooting and I am great.
Yeah.
But that's a natural talent.
It's a worrying... I'm not particularly good with a pistol, but I've had to go with a sniper rifle.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm worryingly okay with it. Because I was there doing it and I'm laying up and I'm lining up and I just went, breathe in, breathe out, and release the trigger, which is something I learned from, I think, the 7th level of Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
When you have to crawl through Chernobyl to get into position to take down the bad guy, which is one... Look, the Call of Duty series went off the fucking rails, but that's one of the best fucking levels of any computer game I've ever played. Modern
Warfare 3 is one of some like only 14 Western games to get a full 40 out of 40 score in Famitsu. So, Famitsu, for Laura's benefit, Famitsu is a Japanese gaming review magazine that is like notoriously harsh on its scores because it has 4 different critics review the game separately out of 10 and then adds those together. And there's some games that don't have a perfect score that you would expect it to. Like, I don't have it to hand, but I believe one of Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild doesn't have a perfect score.
Yeah.
But Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 does.
My favourite thing like that is when I think it got to there was a point where Edge was notorious for being like, we give a 10 out of 10 very rarely.
Yeah.
Like they gave like Halo 1 and stuff like that. And then the only, and one of my favourite things is after about like, I think about 10 years after the initial review, they went back and was like, look, we gave Resident Evil 4 a 9 out of 10. And after a decade to think about it, we were wrong. It's a 10 out of 10. And that's like the only time they've ever done that. But yeah, no, I think there's a line in, I think it was the Zero Punctuation review of the first Call of Duty, where he goes, the moment where your American character dies alone and unloved, thousands of miles from home, elevated this from pretty mediocre gun wank into pretty fucking excellent gun wank.
Yeah.
I worked in game, we had a guy return Modern Warfare.
Right.
Because it was broken.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, what's it broken? He goes, well, the character, I'm on this level and the character just dies. I was like, what level was that? And he goes, well, it's just after the nukes blown up and like knock your helicopter out of the sky, and there's no way of getting out of the level alive. And I just looked at him and was like, you expect your character to survive a direct hit from a nuclear weapon?
Yeah.
And he was like, what? I go, you're supposed to die at that moment of the game. And he was like, well, what happens next? I go, he plays the other guy.
Yeah. You know the British guy you've been playing as for half the game?
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah. Those games do go off the fucking rails. But Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is really fun, because Modern Warfare 1 is so you play as both an American soldier and as an SAS type guy.
Yeah. And
you're going to like an unnamed Eastern European country as the SAS to take down some ultra nationalists
who are backed by some otherwise we're not going to name who it is, but they're backed by the Russians.
Yeah, exactly. And as the Americans, you go to Afghanistan.
And it goes real bad.
Yeah, it is real bad. They nuke it. The Russians nuke it. But then in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, they're like, well, people really like this. And also, there's a really, really fun... If you speak to anyone about Modern Warfare 1, they're going to talk about 2 things. They're going to talk about 3 things. The nuke, All Gillied Up, which is the sniper rifle mission where you have to infiltrate Chernobyl, and the gun at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a heavily cinematic moment where a character like slides a gun to you and you use it to take out the bad guy, and it's super cool. Modern Warfare 2 is like, we're gonna dial this up to fucking 25. So the Russians invade like Midwest America, and you have to defend a Burger King.
It's also got a very interesting. So the opening of Modern Warfare 2, No Russian, is you and a bunch of other Russians go and shoot up an airport and fuck it up.
Oh, Laura, I've talked to you about this in the past.
It's something that I never expected from like a big game like that, because it really actually examines the concept of choice in a video game, because you don't have to shoot the civilians.
Yeah.
You could stand behind the Russians with your gun up and like shoot over the top. So they think you're with them, because you're like an agent who's infiltrated, and at the end you find out that they know all along and they shoot you.
Yeah.
But but like loads of people are like, oh, you shoot up an airport and kill a bunch of people, and I was like, I didn't. Yeah. That seems like a really awful thing to do, so I decided not to.
No,
what'd you get for that? Well, I got an achievement for it.
Yeah. I love revisiting that level and seeing how many civilians I can shoot before the Russians do.
It's almost Stanley. Have you played the Stanley Parable?
No.
So the Stanley Parable is a game, and I can sum it up perfectly by explaining the first thing that happens. You are in a cubicle, you step out of your office, there's no one there, as a narrator, and you step into a room and there's 2 doors, and the narrator just goes, Stanley went through the door to his left.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the entire thing from then on, is you try, it's like you versus the narrator.
Yeah.
As like you can just do all mental shit. But yeah, it's like one of those things, like I expect that from an indie game. I don't expect like fucking like Call of Duty to be like, oh no, there's an achievement for not shooting everybody.
Yeah.
Anyone on the Russians level was like, why is that there? It's like, why were you shooting innocent people? Because the bad guys told you to. Are you a fucking idiot?
What was the point? So Modern Warfare 2, they took away sort of the wrong message. They were like, people really like this cinematic thing. So there's a level that you play that's just the Nicolas Cage film The Rock. It's just the exact same plot. And then you have to build on these things. You have to one up. So rather than your character, in the original game, you're in Afghanistan and a nuke goes off and you can walk around where your character is going to die.
Yeah.
So you get to play your character's death, and it's really affecting. In the second one, this might be the third one. In the second one, a nuke goes off in London, and you see it from the perspective of an astronaut on the International Space Station.
Oh yeah, I forgot about it. Oh.
And the way that you find out about it is that you stop shooting Russians for a bit, and then the game just switches to the camcorder recording of an American family with a little girl having a vacation in London. Look, Daddy, it's Big Ben. What's that?
Yeah.
Straight to astronaut. Oh my God, that little girl's dead.
Yeah. And it's like, that's what I love most about the Call of Duty franchise, is their entire thing is like, we're about the horrors of war.
Yeah.
It's really bad. And then you watch like their like events to promote it. It's like, we're sponsored by Mountain Dew and the army, and look, there's a Jeep.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like, it has about as much to do with actual warfare. Not just as like has much to do with actual warfare as Top Gun the movie. It has as much to do with actual warfare as the music video for the song in Top Gun.
No, but the thing is as well, it has also genuinely has as much to do with real military action as Top Gun the movie, as in it's incredibly over the top, it's incredibly ridiculous, it's not what you would expect, but it is being used as a recruitment tool by the actual army.
And like, this isn't fucking disparaging. I love those games.
No, I love them.
I remember playing with my friend Paul, and the single player doesn't have co-op. Like, it doesn't have co-op play, so you have to play it alone. But him and I both decided to complete it on the same night, and we were on Xbox Live, and he got stuck at a level, so I got ahead of him by about 10 minutes.
All right.
And I got to experience the bit in the Jeep where you drive onto the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. He's like, shut up. He doesn't sound like that. And then I got to hear his reaction to it, and it was quite sweet. It was really nice.
I went around, like my mate Ivan at the time called me up. Was like, I've got Call of Duty. It was like it was like back very early days of PS3, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he had a 360, and he just got the game, and he was one of the few people I knew, and he's like, rang me up, was like, I've got Call of Duty. I'm playing the multiplayer. I haven't started the story yet. Do you want to come over? I was like, yeah, all right. So I went round his house, and I think it was like a Friday night, and I ended up staying at his house until Sunday. Because we just were like passing the control, doing the single player, and then we got into the multiplayer, and it was like on weekend one when no one was good at it, and it was just amazing. But yeah, I love those games so much. This is technically a Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, I don't think I even have anything in my notes anyway.
No, yeah. I've only got two things, which is one, Wesley fucks off fixing the ship to like hide over his girlfriend, and Geordie can't give him any shit about it because Geordie does that sort of shit all the time. But also, right, okay, in what universe, if you need advice on how to hit on a woman and you're on board the Enterprise, how is Riker the third person you ask?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, Riker and Guinan definitely fuck.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and to the point where I get the impression that this might be a regular thing. Like, they probably fuck, not just now, but a lot, frequently. Yeah. And Guinan's, like, immortal.
Yep.
And can't age. But also, they were desperate to get Whoopi Goldberg back in Picard, so does age. But then they have a young Guinan turn up, and it's not Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, even though she was Whoopi Goldberg in the Wild West. Because it goes back in time and meets her.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, like, this is, by the way, this is one of the reasons Picard Season 2 is one of the worst things that's ever happened to Star Trek, is that Guinan in, like, modern times is like, I'm supposed to be like an observer, an alien, I'm not supposed to get involved in your society, but I can't just stand by while all of this horrible stuff happens. But in like the 1800s, she was hanging out with like Mark Twain, and it's like, oh yeah, because there was no social injustice happening in 1800s America. Fuck you, Guinan.
I don't think I have anything else. No.
One thing I do like is the girl, Saleya, is talking about she's going to rule this planet, and she says to Wesley, there's no word in your language for the position that I'll hold. It's king.
Yeah.
It's king, emperor, god king.
Yeah.
It's like,
quite a lot of them.
There's a lot of words for
what are you going to do differently?
Supreme leader.
Yeah.
One other thing. This is a question I genuinely have, because I don't. This is the first time this has happened. They're in Saleya and Anya are in their room, and Worf, as security chief, keeps them in there by putting a force field over the door.
Yeah.
Do all doors have that?
Well, this actually coincides with something that I wrote down, which is that when they arrive, Picard tells them that they are going to the quarters normally reserved for Starfleet Admiralty.
You definitely like that.
So, and the subtext to what he says is, so feel free to go absolutely mental in any way that you feel like in there. The walls are padded, we've taken away all the sharp objects, we've put those round things on the corners of all the tables. Crack on.
Because what I'm going to say is, if every door has the option for a force field, you know which door needs it? The holodeck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And also two other things I've got is Wes takes Saleya on a nice date to what I can only describe as a 90s desktop wallpaper. And he tells her that 19% of the galaxy has been charted, which is a weirdly specific number for something you can't. Like, you can't know how much of the galaxy you've charted until you've charted all of it. What if you get to the middle and it goes up?
Yeah. God, there's so much space.
They've been all the way to the middle. That's in one of the movies.
Yeah.
So they've been all the way to the middle. And where?
And they knew that because there was a guy sitting on a rock with a pole.
Saying Shazam. My name's the Wizard Shazam.
And there's just there's one sign that says New York, and there's one sign that says Dublin, and they're equidistant. That's how you know you've hit the middle of the galaxy.
How far are we? We're like well on the edge, aren't we, of the galaxy? Like, I think. Like, we're out on one of the spiral arms.
We can see one of the other spirals.
Yeah, we can see one of the other arms, but we're not near the middle or anything. I bet that's where it's all fun. I bet it's all going off around there. Just nobody's ever checked.
It's a lot brighter. It's like the Corfu of the galaxy.
It's like the middle's just the pyramid stage from Glastonbury, which is oh, by the way, the best place I've ever seen live music. Like I've been to a lot of festivals, and I didn't think I'm now ride or die for Billie Eilish. I saw Billie Eilish because I knew I knew Bad Guy and the Bond song, and it's top 5 gigs I've ever been to.
Nice.
So yeah, this is now a Billie Eilish appreciation podcast.
I think she's swell.
But I just got to say, like, Wesley is a space bigot in this episode as well.
Oh, big thing, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you're a shapeshifter, and then he's like, oh, you don't even you wouldn't even show me your real form.
To me, it came off as the same energy as the people who say that they wouldn't date a bisexual person.
Yeah.
Why? Fuck
yeah, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. They're either attracted to only you, or not. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Like, calm down.
Yeah.
What have you got going for yourself, Wesley Crusher?
She's a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
The argument for why it's good to date a shapeshifter was made better than we could ever make it by Mystique in X-Men 2. When she accosts Wolverine in his bed.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. There's no downside to it that I can see. And also, like I say, it's not that fucking weird.
Yeah.
There's loads of shapeshifters in Star. Like, this falls into the whole thing of, is there not news?
Yeah.
Because there's a shapeshifter who's head of security on Deep Space Nine. And, like, even if they're still at war with, like, the Cardassians still own that at this point, surely someone who's not part of the Federation has, like, been to Deep Space Nine because there's a bar there, have done some dealings with Quark, ended up in Federation Space Nine. Oh, a fucking shapeshifter.
Yeah.
In charge of security. You wouldn't be able to tell. He always stays in the shape of a boring man. But yeah, it just seems like there's not a lot. Like I don't understand why someone being a shapeshifter, somebody you've just met as well, has a superpower.
Yeah.
And they haven't told you immediately. I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
That's a point around like the 3 or 4 month. Like, oh, you want to get past the I love yous,
yeah,
before you get to I'm also Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's what that movie's about. Yeah,
yeah. Any point before that, and you're opening yourself up for like mass betrayal.
Yeah. Did you notice, by the way, that the helmsman in this episode was quite a hot blonde?
Yeah.
So, do you think that was someone that one of the producers met in a bar? He's like, hey baby, you come home with me, I'll get you on Star Trek.
I think both her and hot blonde that the shapeshifter is for like one scene.
Yeah.
Because that's when she turns up. There's no explanation that she's a shapeshifter. She just turns up and she's talking. You're like, who the fuck is this bitch?
Yeah.
Was there more of an entourage?
Yeah.
Also, when they beam off, she's like, oh, I have to change into my true form before I beam over. But she didn't have to change into her true form to beam up.
No, so the explanation for that is that she can't appear in front of her own people as anything other than her true form.
But her people know she's a shapeshifter. They're shapeshifters, I would assume.
Well, yeah, but it's a bit like if the Queen showed up for a Jubilee naked. We're all naked.
Okay.
Sometimes, but we don't expect Big Liz to get her baps out. People would lose respect for her. Just after she's had that tube line named after her. This is not the time. I know her husband's dead in that, and it's time to explore. But if you're listening to this, Liz, now is not the time.
No,
either.
Liz, what you want to do is hit that record. We all know you're after it. We've been to the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
You need to there's 2 more, I think there's like a Louis, one of the French Louis, who was in there longer. You need like a year and a half to get past him. Once you hit that record, you're the longest reigning monarch ever. Just see how much shit you can get the Daily Mail to agree with.
Yeah. Like,
start dating a black woman.
Yeah. Make sure that your last words are up the rack.
No. Make sure your last words are Alu Akbar.
What time are you on?
We're on like 52 minutes.
Yeah, so, right, that'll do them.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Thanks for listening. I know we didn't talk much about Star Trek, but it's such a nothing episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Though the one thing I would recommend checking out is Data does a bit where he tells Wesley how to date, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye.